It's tough. You never want to see injuries happen, first and foremost. You hate it when it's to anyone, let alone, the third season-ending injury that we've seen this year. But like I told our team at halftime, look, yes, we've been dealt a crappy hand, but we got...
The WNBA is once again caught in the center of turmoil, but this time the issue runs deeper than questionable officiating or physical play. The league is facing something far more alarming. Stephanie White's announcement of Sophie Cunningham's season-ending injury has rattled the basketball community, and the heartbreak in her voice made it clear. This feels like the breaking point for a league that has consistently fallen short in protecting its players.
The news is about to drop, so we're okay to talk about this, but I did tear my MCL. And if you're going to hurt your knee, that is like the best possible case. And so, this year, just as a whole, like, I think the league as a whole, but really us, we've just gone through so much adversity. And then injury wise, it's just been like, you can't make this shit up, to be honest. And so, during Connecticut's game on Sunday, I was just in the paint trying to be help side. And someone ran into my knee and it just snapped and knee injuries are weird to me. Like, I don't really like thinking about them, but I felt a pop right away. And
the harsh reality can no longer be brushed aside. Injuries have stalked the Indiana Fever all season, and the situation has now boiled over. With their defensive cornerstone sidelined by a torn MCL, her year abruptly cut short. The Fever have officially lost a fourth player for the remainder of the 2025 campaign, a staggering blow to a team already stretched to its limits.
That play dirty in this league. It's absolutely ridiculous. These players are paying a price for Kathy Engelbert's incompetence. Doesn't seem like a fair trade-off, if you ask me. Sophie Cunningham will miss the remainder of the season after suffering an injury during our game at Connecticut on Sunday. In a corresponding move, we have signed guard Shea Petty to a 7-day hardship contract and released Kyra Lambert. Now, folks, Sophie Cunningham is out for the season. My question is, what kind of adjustments should the Indiana Fever make? What kind of adjustments does Stephanie White have at her disposal? What kind of adjustments is Stephanie White capable of to help this team make it to the finish line?
If you're enjoying this, don't forget to subscribe. Sophie Cunningham's season-ending knee injury has become the breaking point for Indiana Fever fans, who have watched what was supposed to be a championship run unravel under the weight of endless setbacks. When head coach Stephanie White confirmed that Cunningham tore her MCL in Sunday's matchup against the Connecticut Sun and would miss the rest of the 2025 season, the frustration among the fan base boiled over into outright outrage.
The Indiana Fever didn't even report what the knee injury was. They just said that it would be season ending. However, Alex Filippo, she reported that Sophie Cunningham did tear her MCL and that she would be out for the rest of the season, but she is expected to make a full recovery before next season. So obviously that is good news. And when you talk about tears in your knee, an MCL is one that has a quicker recovery period for the most part than something like an ACL, or sometimes even meniscus can be longer than an MCL. A patellar tendon obviously is much more severe than all of them. So it was good news relatively, that it was an MCL and not anything more serious.
That makes 4 Indiana Fever players now officially lost for the season. Sophie Cunningham joins Ari McDonald, sidelined with a fractured foot, and Sydney Colson, out with a torn ACL, while the uncertainty around Caitlin Clark's lingering groin injury continues after more than a month away from the court. It's nothing short of embarrassing. How can a league allow half of a contender's rotation to be wiped out by injuries while its leadership stays silent, hiding behind hollow statements and vague day-to-day updates?
You guys, the day of the game, that she was done for the year. Now, so everybody that was jumping in my comments like, oh, you're clickbaiting, you don't know. No, I knew it was over. I knew. So now the Indiana Fever have officially come out and let it be known. This right here is by Underdog WNBA. It says Sophie Cunningham diagnosed with torn right MCL per Chloe Peterson. And this is awful news. This is just awful.
The injury struck in brutal fashion during Sunday's overtime win against Connecticut, when Sun guard Bria Hartley crashed into Cunningham's right leg on a drive to the basket. Cunningham clutched her knee instantly before collapsing to the floor in visible agony, a scene that Fever fans have seen far too often this season. Just one day after celebrating her 29th birthday, the veteran guard had to be helped off the court, and she never returned.
You had Sophie Cunningham, one of the best shooters, if not the best shooter, coming into the second half, shooting the lights out, right? Just absolutely dominating on that perimeter for the Indiana Fever and looking like a player that could actually help the Indiana Fever get far into the playoffs, be that X factor for them when the energy is down, they are getting blown out or whatever the case may be. They can't even find a bucket. Sophie Cunningham was one of those players to actually get them going. And now all of a sudden, no Sophie Cunningham. I mean, I don't know how many more blows the Indiana Fever can actually take and survive, man. I mean, they don't lost
4 players out for the season. Let that sink in. The Indiana Fever have now lost 4 key contributors for the rest of 2025, while Caitlin Clark remains sidelined indefinitely with the groin injury that has kept her out since July 15th. This isn't misfortune, it's a systemic failure. A league unwilling to confront unchecked physicality and inconsistent officiating has created an environment where injuries pile up like clockwork. Cunningham's loss cuts the deepest. She had evolved into a vital piece of the Fever's identity, averaging 8.6 points and 3.5 rebounds per game, while shooting a career-best 46.9% from the floor and an elite 43.2% from beyond the arc. After McDonald and Coulson went down on August 7th, she even stepped in as a makeshift point guard, patching together the backcourt with grit and poise. And now, just as the Fever needed her most, they've lost their defensive anchor and veteran leader. Another crushing blow at the worst possible time.
Good job, Bria. Now Sophie Cunningham's out for the rest of the season. Good job, Kathy Engelbert, for not checking your players, for not making sure your officials get grips on these games, for letting all types of malice behavior to take place on the court. These players feel they have the right to take cheap shots. These players feel like they have the right to dive at people's legs. And now Bria Hartley has claimed her latest.
The ripple effect of these injuries is impossible to ignore. With Clark still sidelined by her groin issue and no clear timetable for her return, the Fever are essentially running with a skeleton version of the roster they built for a title push. Even Clark herself, as Sophie Cunningham revealed on her podcast, admits there's no certainty, describing her recovery as a day-by-day process focused only on regaining game shape. And yet, what makes this entire ordeal unbearable is the WNBA's silence. No investigation into the rising physicality. No accountability for inconsistent officiating. No scrutiny of players who repeatedly cross the line with reckless, dangerous plays. Instead, the league turns a blind eye, allowing the targeting to continue while its brightest stars drop one after another.
Of celebration was completely overshadowed by the devastating news that the WNBA received yesterday afternoon. Sophie Cunningham, the only star remaining in this toxic turd, the only recognizable face amongst a league filled with anonymous faces. The Indiana Felines announced yesterday afternoon that Sophie Cunningham was out for the rest of the season. Translation: the WNBA season is officially over.